The following review contains significant plot spoilers. Please watch at your own risk.
Good morning. My name's Bond. James Bond.
Don't move, Mr. Bond.
When Sean Connery decided to quit the role of James Bond after his fifth film You Only Live Twice, the search was on for a new actor to play the role. Eventually it was decided that an unknown Australian actor would be the lucky man to play Bond. This man's name was Lazenby, George Lazenby. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the sixth official Bond film and was released in 1969, starring George Lazenby as James Bond 007. After the new gun barrel sequence, which features a weird kind of treadmill effect, we get the pre-title sequence which shows Bond saving a woman from committing suicide. This woman is Countess Tracy Di Vincenzo, played by Diana Rigg. Tracy is of course the main Bond girl of the film. After the film decides to break the fourth wall, we get the opening credits and title song. This title song is different as it is an instrumental rather than an actual song sung by someone. Regardless, it is composed by the legendary John Barry and is probably one of the best musical pieces I have ever heard in my so far 19 years of my life. Not even kidding. I'll play a sample when we get to the score section. Anyways, after the credits, which delightfully show images of previous films to let us know that this is indeed the same Bond, we find 007 at a casino where he meets Tracy again. The two make love, and the next day Bond is forcefully taken to meet Marc-Ange Draco, the head of a European crime syndicate and surprisingly the father of Tracy. Draco is played by Gabriele Ferzetti. After telling Bond about Tracy's troubled past, Draco offers Bond a personal dowry of £1 million if he marries Tracy. Bond refuses but agrees to still be with Tracy under the agreement that Draco reveals the whereabouts of Ernst Stavro Blofeld, played by Telly Savalas. After this we get some drama and later a montage of Bond and Tracy to the song We Have All the Time in the World, sung by the legendary Louis Armstrong. This was supposed to be the title song, but it was too slow and therefore used during the slow parts of the film. I'm not a fan of the song, but I must say it matches the tone of the film perfectly. After Bond gathers information about Blofeld in a Swiss lawyer's office thanks to Draco, he goes under disguise as genealogist Sir Hilary Bray to meet Blofeld himself. Blofeld is apparently trying to claim the title Comte Balthazar de Beauchamp, which is why Bond has to impersonate a genealogist, in case you were confused there. However, this is where a major plot hole comes into place. Bond and Blofeld had already met face to face in the previous film. Wouldn't they recognize each other immediately? Well, with the novels, You Only Live Twice comes after this story and has an entirely unique premise compared to the film adaptation. When this film was made, the producers tried to adapt the novel as closely as possible, and they very much succeeded. This is why there's a plot hole. It's kind of glaring at first, but over time I just said screw it and just went with it. Anyways, back on track, Bond goes to Blofeld's Clinical Research Institute atop Piz Gloria in the Swiss Alps. There he meets Blofeld's henchwoman Irma Bunt, played by Ilse Steppet, who is basically similar to Rosa Klebb from Russia with Love. Bond also meets 10 young women of various ethnic backgrounds who are patients at the clinic. Bond finds out that after putting them in a sleep-induced trance, Blofeld gives them audio instructions for what to do when they are sent back home. We later find out that Blofeld intends to brainwash the young woman to distribute bacteriological warfare agents throughout various parts of the world. Bond's cover eventually gets blown when he messes up a small detail that the real Hilary Bray would have gotten right, and is locked up in a confined area with cable car gears. Bond, of course, escapes and skis down Piz Gloria while Blofeld and his men give chase. When Bond reaches the village at the bottom of the mountain, he finds Tracy and the two escape in her car while Irma Bunt and some henchmen chase them. They eventually get caught in a blizzard and take refuge in a barn where Bond proposes to Tracy. Tracy willingly accepts. The next morning the two are again chased, this time by Blofeld and his men. Blofeld attempts to kill Bond by causing a huge avalanche, but unknowingly fails and captures Tracy. Back in London at M's office, Bond informs M of Blofeld's plan to hold the world for ransom, but M tells him that the ransom will be paid and forbids Bond to create a rescue mission. Bond, of course, disobeys and enlists the help of Draco and his men to attack Blofeld's research institute, while also rescuing Tracy. The institute gets destroyed and Tracy is saved by her father while Bond chases Blofeld in a pretty cool bobsled chase. The chase ends when Blofeld gets snared in a tree branch and injures his neck. We then flash forward to Bond and Tracy's wedding, which I will admit is an absolute tearjerker, especially when Bond throws his hat to Moneypenny. The two drive away in Bond's Aston Martin, but the film isn't done yet. When Bond pulls over on the side of the road to remove the flowers from the car, Blofeld, wearing a neck brace, and Irma Bunt commit a drive-by shooting, intending to kill Bond. Bond gets in the car muttering, "It's Blofeld," before looking over to see his dead wife in the passenger seat. A police officer comes to inspect the scene and sees Bond cradling his dead wife, saying that famous line, "We have all the time in the world," before having an emotional breakdown and ending the film. Now let's talk about George Lazenby as James Bond. Coming right after Sean Connery, it would be very difficult for any actor to play the role with such charm and charisma. Was George Lazenby as good as Connery? It's hard to say since this was Lazenby's only Bond film. Had he done another film, it would be much more clearer. Based on his performance in this film, however, I have to say he was pretty solid. The only problem I had really was with his delivery of certain one-liners. His delivery of some of them just sound very uninspired. On the other hand, he has one of my favorite one-liners in the entire series, which he says during a particular scene involving a snowblower. Overall, George Lazenby is my least favorite James Bond, but that isn't saying much when I believe that every actor so far was great as Bond. Lazenby gave a solid performance in his only film as Bond, and showed a certain emotional depth that Connery couldn't quite pull off. I just can't imagine Connery in that last scene in this film. It just wouldn't feel right. I also believe that it was time for Connery to leave the role anyways, as he clearly did not enjoy it anymore. The producers did a good job of recasting James Bond, and if Lazenby had done a few more films, he probably would have been one of the best, instead of the forgotten Bond. Telly Savalas as Blofeld is by far the best casting in this film. In the novels, Blofeld is Bond's physical equal. In this film, he is Bond's physical equal. Unlike in the previous film, this Blofeld is a tall, scarless, threatening evil mastermind with smarts and wit. He actually gets to fight Bond and nearly defeats him in the end. Savalas' performance is pretty much perfect, and he has that certain appearance and look that is very memorable. Needless to say, this is my favorite Blofeld, and actually my second favorite villain in the entire series. M, Moneypenny, and Q have a few short scenes, including a memorable one where they are at Bond's wedding. I also like the part when Bond threatens to resign from Her Majesty's Secret Service, and M immediately accepts Bond's assignment request. That shows how much M believes in Bond's determination, even though they don't seem to get along much. I should also mention that there are absolutely no gadgets in this one. This doesn't hinder the film at all, however, and the film actually benefits from this with the more serious tone that it has. Our ally in this film is Marc-Ange Draco. He reminds me of Karen Bay in some ways and makes a pretty good ally. Irma Bunt is the henchwoman of the film, and Ilse Steppat gives a menacing and memorable performance. Sadly, Steppat passed away just 4 days after the premiere for the film. This brings us to our Bond girl, Tracy D. Vincenzo, aka Tracy Bond. Diana Rigg is spectacular as Tracy, and by the end of the film you really feel for her and Bond and their marriage. Tracy is also the only Bond girl that actually marries Bond, unless you count that fake marriage from the previous film, which I and many other people don't. For these reasons, Tracy is definitely one of my favorite Bond girls in the entire series. The director of this film is Peter Hunt, who worked as the editor for the previous Bond films. It completely baffles me that Hunt only directed one Bond film, because he created an absolute masterpiece, which happens to be this film. Regardless, Peter Hunt is a legend in my books. The score in this film was done, of course, by John Barry, and is definitely one of the best scores in the entire series. Just listen to the epic instrumental title song. This other suspenseful track that plays when Bond sneaks into the lawyer's office is also top-notch. The instrumental title song is definitely one of the best musical compositions I have ever heard, and is my fourth favorite Bond song in the entire series. The first half of the film doesn't contain a whole lot of action, but is absolutely entertaining the whole time. During the second half of the film, there is pretty much non-stop action. We get a ski chase, a foot chase, a car chase, another ski chase, an assault on Blofeld's Institute, and finally a bobsled chase. I have actually heard some people call this film boring before. Those people are really dumb. Also, the locations this time are absolutely incredible, with places such as Portugal and of course Switzerland. Blofeld's Institute set is definitely among the best in the series. One other thing to quickly note is the running time of the film. This film is around 2 hours and 20 minutes long, making it the second longest Bond film, and not even once does it feel like it is dragging on. That's what I call brilliant filmmaking. When On Her Majesty's Secret Service premiered, it received many negative reviews claiming that Lazenby was absolutely terrible as Bond, and that the ending was atrocious. Any actor coming right after Connery is bound to get some negative reaction, no matter who it was. Also, while the ending may be shocking and not quite traditional for a Bond film, I absolutely adore it in every way possible because it is truly unique and heartbreaking. I also heard people call Blofeld's scheme too stupid. I for one actually liked the scheme, although it could have been explained way better. Reviews for this film have warmed up over the years, and many Bond fans now regularly call this one of the best, or even the best, of the entire series. I agree with those fans and rank this film right above Thunderball as my second favorite Bond film. Therefore, I am proud to give On Her Majesty's Secret Service a perfect 10 out of 10. The only thing that I really disliked about the film was Lazenby's delivery of some of the one-liners. Pretty much everything else in this film is perfect. Nevertheless, here are my 5 favorite things about the film. I really love John Barry's epic score and title song. Telly Savalas is absolutely incredible as Blofeld. The action scenes are some of the best in the series. This is the only Bond film that is truly emotional. Lastly, Bond gets married. There you have it, the perfect Bond film that marked the end of a stellar decade. Next week we will see the return of a familiar face. If you're a Bond fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.